The number one question I get about my cakes is how do I get my edges so sharp, so clean every time? Well, let's talk about that in this video. So I use a technique called paneling, and I do upside down paneling. I'm going to walk you through it now, and you'll see how each and every time you can end up with sharp edges with very little effort. This whole video, yes, is sped up, but in real time and for demonstration purposes, it only took about 12 minutes. If I were doing this simply for doing it, I would do it a lot faster. So first, I roll out a piece of fondant that will become my top piece. So paneling requires two pieces, a top and a side. This is for a round. For a square, it's a little bit different. But we're talking about round today. So roll that piece out, about 1/4 inch thick, set it aside to dry a little. This will allow you to be able to handle it without getting any fingerprints or nicks or dings in it. And then start rolling your side panel. So in order to know the length of the side panel that you need, you do need to measure with a fabric tape measure the circumference of your cake. Roll out your fondant so that it's going to be enough to reach the height of the cake as well as the length or the circumference of the cake itself. Rolling again to about a 1/4 inch thick. 1/4 inch, sorry, is a lot. 1/8 inch would be the word I was looking for, or the number I was looking for. And you'll see I'm using a little scriber tool to pop any air bubbles in my fondant as I'm rolling it. So here I am measuring it just to ensure that I have the right length. These are just fabric measuring tapes used for any kind of garment making. You can buy them at your local dollar stores. They're super affordable and easy to use. So adding my top piece on now, I'm just smoothing it to get it nice and smooth. And then the upside down method, yes, requires you to flip your cake upside down. So I flip it onto another board. And what I just scraped off there was additional buttercream that I used to glue it to my transport board. Now using a scalpel, I am cutting the top round to the exact same size as my cake itself. So this is how you panel upside down. Now some people cut their rounds first, but the top of your cake is going to change each and every time because it's going to depend on how much buttercream you add. So with a perfect buttercream underlayer, I can just cut that top panel the exact same size as the cake itself each and every time. Flip it back upright, add some water to the top edge of or to the side edge of that fondant so that your panel will stick. What you want to do next is you want to cut one side of this panel straight, flat. This will allow you to have that top, what will become your top edge. Measuring it and cutting it just slightly larger than what my circumference of my cake is. This allows for a little bit of overlap and to allow me to get a perfect seam in the back. Now taking the cake, flip it upside down one more time. I have previously spritzed this with water so it is sticky. I rolled my panel around another small rolling pin, and then I unrolled it around the cake. Now using my hard smoother, I am going to just give it a few rubs around just to ensure that A, that it's stuck to the cake, and B, that top seam is connected now. Now where I have an overlap, I am cutting that two pieces at one time so that they create a perfectly seamless piece. And then I'm going to add water to both edges of those seams before I piece them together. And just making sure, so here it was a little bit longer than I needed it to be. There we go. Added a bit more water to be able to connect those two pieces. And using my smoother, I'm going to connect them. Use two of them allows you to bring the two pieces or two ends to meet. And just smoothing it out a little bit more. Now using a box cutter, I trim off the top edge. Now I am using the board that my cake is on to be my guide around the cake so that I get a perfect cut. So now it's finished. So yes, you can still slightly see the seam, but that's okay. Flip it back over. And there you have it, a beautifully iced cake. I'm not worried about seams. I'm not worried about any of that. I've never in all my years had anyone complain about the seam. I have a beautifully fondant covered, sharp edge cake each and every time. I hope you enjoyed.